perpetrating a hoax. Don't you feel that this is a sick man, Jim?
Oh, yeah.
And tragically sick man. Gee, I've never had anything in my life as chilling and as dramatic as talking to a sick man at all of San Francisco listening in.
Go ahead.
August 8th, 1969. A school teacher named Donald Hardin and his wife Betty are sitting at their kitchen table in Salinas, California. They have the newspaper spread out in front of them. On the front page, exactly as the killer demanded, is 1/3 of a coded message. 408 characters made up of symbols, letters, and shapes that look like something between a math equation and an OCD litmus test.
And Betty Hardin has a hunch, and it ain't in her back.
She's looking at this cipher. This thing that the FBI, the NSA, military code breakers, and the entire law enforcement of Northern California have been staring at for over a week. And she thinks to herself, this guy is an egomaniac. He's going to start the message with the word I, and he's a killer, so the word kill is probably in there somewhere.
Of course, and that's it. That's where she's starting. This is not a supercomputer, you know? This is not a classified Roswell decryption program. Betty's thought, this man has a narcissist personality. Well, she did have a husband, and she's lived among men long enough, so it's probably easy to peg.
Perhaps.
She figured the message would start with I, because what else would a man like this start with?
I mean, I would agree with her, but, moving on. She and Donald pulled an all-nighter like they've procrastinated their junior paper. They look for double symbols because in English, the letter L is most commonly double-lettered, and they figure the word kill has to be in there too. So they find it and they use it as a key. And within maybe 24 hours, they've cracked the whole damn thing. A school teacher and his wife at their kitchen table solved a serial killer cipher before the FBI could, before anyone could. And quite honestly, I want to see them playing some puzzles.
Well, what an English lesson, Kathryn.
You're welcome.
And what did this message say? Well, buckle in, you rowdy folks, because this is where the Zodiac stops being mysterious and he starts talking. Well, at least in his own private way.
Sneaky footsteps in the night, clues that vanish out of sight. Grab your hat and magnifying glass. We'll talk this case and have a blast. Mugshot Mysteries, we're on the trail. Twists and turns that never fail. Laughs and chills, it's quite the show. Who did it? Tune in to know.
Welcome back to Mugshot Mysteries. I'm Kathryn.
And I'm Gabriel, and we're back in it. If you haven't listened to part 1, stop right now and go back. Just kidding. You can start here. We'll give you a recap. This is part 2. So technically, this could be our Godfather 2, which though it insists upon itself, is a great movie. Some say the best. I'm hoping this is our Godfather 2, which would probably make me Fredo and Kathryn Michael, so I might not make it out of this pod.
Sorry.
But for those of you who have listened or not listened last week and need a refresher, here's a short version.
The Zodiac Killer, Northern California, late 1960s. 4 confirmed attacks between December 1968 and October 1969. 5 people dead. David Faraday, Betty Lou Jensen, Darlene Farron, Cecilia Shepard, and Paul Stein. 2 survivors, Michael Mageau and Brian Hartnell. The killer targeted young couples at Lovers Lanes and a cab driver in San Francisco. He wore a homemade executioner hood to one attack. He called the police from payphones to report his own crimes. He left a signature, a cross circle symbol, on a car door. And then he did something no serial killer had really done before. He picked up a pen, wrote to 3 newspapers, and named himself. This is the Zodiac speaking.
And this really calls into question the literacy of most serial killers.
Mm.
And that's where we left off last week, standing at the mailbox. Because what comes out of that mailbox over the next 5 years is going to turn a serial killer into a legend. And I say so very reluctantly.
This is part 2 of our 4-part series on the Zodiac Killer. And we're calling this one, Dear Editor.
Because that's how a lot of these letters started. Dear Editor. Like he's writing a letter to the newspaper about his congressman or a large pothole outside his window. Just the most casual, polite opening you can imagine, followed by some of the most disturbing content you've ever read. It's like getting a Christmas card from your sweet, sweet aunt, and inside it says, "I love and I miss you, and I've also murdered your uncle." The whiplash is part of the eeriness.
So last episode, we covered the 4 confirmed attacks, the cultural chaos, A-line shift dresses of the late 1960s, and then, of course, the moment the Zodiac named himself. But today, we're going deep on the letters. Over 20 letters and cards were sent to newspapers, police, and individuals between 1969 and 1974. We're going to walk through the most significant ones chronologically and then talk about what they reveal about the Zodiac's psychology. And we're going to start with the cipher that Betty Hardin cracked at her kitchen table while the FBI was probably bureauing their breakfast danishes.
Sounds great. And I want to kind of set the record up front. The letters are the reason this case is famous. There's a lot of serial killers who have body counts like a frat boy. But the Zodiac's body count, and again, I hate to quantify or downplay the deceased, but it's on the lower end of notorious serial killers. 5 confirmed dead. What made the Zodiac wasn't the killing. It was the writing. He turned murder into a media empire, and the letters are how he did it.
Okay, so let's set this up properly. On July 31st, 1969, 3 Bay Area newspapers each received a handwritten letter. Now, each letter includes 1/3 of a 408-character coded message, what researchers now call the Z408. The killer uses 53 different symbols. Letters, numbers, shapes, astrological signs, made-up characters. And each symbol can represent more than one letter of the alphabet, which is what makes it, ready for it, a homophonic substitution cipher, which thankfully doesn't substitute an N for a B. But basically, the same letter can be used multiple ways, which makes the pattern much harder to recognize.
And this sounds super fancy pants until you realize that a couple in Salinas solved it in their jammies overnight. So maybe he wasn't this criminal mastermind he thought he was. Maybe he was just a dude who read one book about ciphers and thought he was Alan Turing.
The letters that came with the cipher portions are important. He wrote to the editors directly. He confessed to the Lake Herman Road and the Blue Rock Springs murders, and he provided details that only the killer would know, like the type of ammunition, the number of shots, what the victims were wearing. And he demanded that the newspapers print his ciphers on the front page or he would, quote, go on a kill rampage. Which, is scarier than a rampage, I guess.
Which is the most disturbing thing you could probably write after Dear Editor.
Yeah.
Dear Editor, please print my code or I will murder, death, kill everyone and their mothers and it will be huge.
Wow.
Regards a man who clearly has grandiosity issues. Like, this is not how letters to the editor are supposed to work.
Yeah. No, they're not. But you know what the newspapers did do? They published the ciphers. I mean, they didn't really have a choice. And, it was certainly going to sell papers. And on August 8th, Betty and Donald Hardin cracked it. They decoded the message. And I'm going to read the key parts for you, okay? It starts like this. I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all.
That phrase, the most dangerous game, is actually the title of a famous 1924 short story by Richard Connell. It's about a hunter who hunts humans for sport. It was apparently a staple of high school English classes, though I gotta say my classes were more a Catcher in the Rye and Huckleberry Finn variety. So either the Zodiac was well read, or he paid attention to 10th grade back when schools had breakout sessions on, hunting human beings.
I'm sorry. I'm really struggling with us being upset with what books our kids are reading in school right now. That was a book kids read in school?
The 60s and 70s were a different time, Dave.
My gosh, I think what we have now is pretty PG in comparison. My mind is blown. Well, the message continues, and he writes that killing gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl, which is a pretty incel-y type of thing to say. It's disturbing. And then it gets into something even more disturbing. He says that when he dies, he will be reborn in paradise, and all the people he's killed will become my slaves. He says he's collecting slaves for my afterlife, like some Egyptian pharaoh or some shit like that.
Well, That obviously deserves a little bit of a breakdown because this is the first real peek at what this guy thinks he's doing. He's not killing for revenge. He's not killing for money. He's not even killing purely for the thrill. He created this entire mythology around these murders. He built himself a religion where he's the god and his victims are the property in the afterlife. So that's not just evil, that's self-mythology. He's writing his own scripture, the House of the Zodiac, and his alms were your undivided attention.
Now, a big question.
Yes.
Did he actually believe that? Or was it part of the performance?
I don't think he believed it.
I don't know, because some
Seemed like some tough shit to say.
I mean, look, some investigators and psychologists have stated that the slaves in paradise language was designed to shock, not to express a real belief system. It was theatrical. It's meant to instill fear. And if there's one thing the Zodiac understood, it's that the scariest killer is the one who murders with no logic. And I would wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah. So if a killer says, I want money, or I want revenge, or you've killed my father, prepare to die, you can at least understand the motivation. You can try to negotiate. You can try to predict it. But a killer who says, I'm collecting slaves for my afterlife, there's no negotiation with that ridiculousness.
No.
There's no appealing to reason. And that's the whole point. Whether he believed it or not, the message he's trying to give is, I cannot be reasoned with. I am special. I cannot be stopped. I operate outside your reality. I've taken the red pill and I only know the truth, which is obviously appropriately creepy. And I think it was all calculated to be so. I doubt he believed what he said.
One more important detail about the Z408, the last 18 characters of the decoded message are actually gibberish.
And do tell us what those were?
Get ready, guys. EBEORIETEMETHHPITI.
That's not how the alphabet goes. You're going to jail, baby.
I mean, I sounded like a broken robot. Like
you failed that
C3PO.
sobriety test.
Not C3PO. R2D2 just like completely malfunctioned. Anyway, nobody knows what they mean, and some researchers believe they're filler characters he used to make the cipher divide evenly into 3 parts, and others believe the letters can be rearranged into his actual name, kind of like, Tom Riddle, Lord Voldemort. I mean, that's a thing, guys. Here's the problem. Those 18 letters can be rearranged into over 700 billion possible combinations. So, good luck with that. Though, who knows, maybe ChatGPT or Claude or Gronk or whatever the hell is out there's got this someday.
Certainly not Gronk. No, I'm thinking AI. And when it becomes our overlords,
It's happening.
yes, may it at least solve the riddle, as we hide underground in the bunkers. But to put that in perspective, if you tried one combination every second, it would take you roughly 22,000 years. So unless you're an immortal or AI, which may also be immortal, truly chat, get her done, because we're probably shit out of luck as human beings.
And by the way, the Zodiac had taunted in his letters that the cipher contained his identity. He wrote, when they do crack it, they'll have me. They cracked it, and they didn't have him. He was already playing a game he knew he'd win. So the Z408 is cracked, and the message is published, and the entire Bay Area now knows that they're dealing with someone who kills for fun and believes his victims will serve him in the afterlife. Real normal stuff, like completely sane. And the Zodiac's response to all of this attention is basically, more please.
He's thriving. He's getting front page coverage. His cipher is the most talked about puzzle in America. And like any good content creator, yes, content creator, and I use that term with all the disgust it deserves here.
Hey.
Also for, some real life content creators in the room. He understands that you have to keep feeding this algorithm, right? You understand that. Mm-hmm. You have to keep giving people a reason to pay attention. He didn't have cleavage, so what he had to do is lead with murders and ciphers.
Now, on October 13th, 1969, 2 days after the Paul Stein murder, the Chronicle receives a letter. And inside is a swatch of Paul Stein's bloodstained shirt to prove the Zodiac committed the murder. The letter reads, I am the murderer of the taxi driver over by Washington Street and Maple Street last night. To prove this, here's a bloodstained piece of the shirt.
Which does raise some questions that you're mailing bloody evidence to a newspaper. Like, did you just put that in a mailbox? Did you drop it off at the post office? Do you have anything to claim in this package? Yes, a dead man's shirt. Thank you. First class.
The letter goes on to taunt the police for the Fulkenzelm's near miss. The dispatch error we covered in part 1, the one that just drives me up the wall. And then it ends with a threat that created genuine, widespread panic across the Bay Area. So I'm going to read it as he wrote it. School children make nice targets. I think I shall wipe out a school bus some morning. Just shoot out the front tire and then pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing out.
So he broke the rule and threatened to murder children.
You don't do that.
Yeah, school children. Now you've hit a nerve. Not the children, right? Never the children. And this isn't an empty threat to the masses. This guy has already killed 5 people. He's already proven he's capable of murder. So the response was immediate and huge.
Armed police officers rode school buses throughout the Bay Area. Patrol cars and aircraft followed bus routes. Parents were terrified. Schools were on alert. The entire region was in a state that, in my opinion, we honestly haven't seen replicated until probably post 9/11. And the Zodiac caused all of that with a single paragraph in a letter. He's the most famous content creator in the world.
Which is exactly what he wanted, of course. He didn't have to shoot a school bus. He just had to say he was going to do it. The threat itself was the gun. It was the stick-up. One sentence, he shut down the entire transit of a major metropolitan area. That's not a killer. That's a terrorist. And in 1969, we didn't really have that in our vocabulary yet. The 60s in San Fran, that was just a bunch of people saying stuff like groovy, far out of sight, boss, bitchin'.
Ooh, my mom's favorite. Gag me with a spoon. And I never said it correctly.
What?
I think I always said it a little too valley. It's supposed to be like, gag me with a spoon. I can't do it. Sorry, Mom. I tried again 30 years later. So speaking of San Francisco, let's talk about what this does to a community, because the Zodiac's impact wasn't just about the people he killed. It was about the hundreds of thousands of people that were suddenly afraid to let their kids ride a school bus, afraid to park on a dark street, afraid to open their newspaper because every morning there might be another letter, another threat, another cipher. He was living rent-free in the heads of the entire metropolitan area, and he was doing it from what we have to assume was a perfectly ordinary house where the neighbors thought he was a perfectly ordinary guy. Or maybe a weird guy, who knows? Everyone has that weird neighbor, we sure do. Point is, he might not have stood out in any tangible way.
And that is definitely the thing. Somewhere in Northern California, a man was making himself a sandwich. Because you know men and their sandwiches, serial killers or not. But maybe this guy had kids. Maybe he had a wife. He was paying an electric bill. Maybe waving to a neighbor and then sitting down in some whitey-tighties in the table to write letters about collecting human slaves for the afterlife. The gap between those two realities is what is terrifying. That he was walking among us. Maybe he played in the company baseball team. Who really knows?
Now let's take you somewhere. November 8th, 1969. Another mailing to the Chronicle. This one includes a greeting card and a brand new cipher. 340 characters this time. The Z340. He asked for it to be printed on the front page and writes, I get awfully lonely when I'm ignored. So lonely I could do my thing. With 6 exclamation points. 6. That's pretty excessive. He also includes a diagram of what he calls the death machine. I can't with this guy. A bomb he claims he's rigged to blow up school buses. My gosh, we're going for the kids again.
Yeah, keep away from the kids, asshole.
Yeah.
So the death machine diagram, it's basically a schematic showing how to wire a bomb to detonate when a bus drives over it. Now, bomb experts who analyzed it said it was crude, but theoretically functional. Whether or not the Zodiac could actually build it in his whitey-tighties is another question. Again, it does not matter if it's real. It matters what people believe it might be.
And the Z340 cipher he sent with this letter, well, it would remain unsolved for 51 years. Now, we'll get deep into that in part 3, but just know that this single page of symbols sat on desks and computer screens and whiteboards for over half a century before 3 civilians cracked it during the COVID lockdown in December of 2020. The Zodiac built a puzzle that outlasted the Cold War, the internet, and the invention of the smartphone before someone finally solved it. Now, December 20th, 1969, exactly 1 year to the day after the Lake Herman Road murders, the Zodiac sends a letter, but this time not to a newspaper. He sends it to celebrity attorney Melvin Belli.
Now, we need to back up and explain why Melvin Belly is even in the story, because it is one of the stranger subplots. Melvin Belly was one of the most famous trial lawyers in America. He represented everyone from the Rolling Stones to Jack Ruby. That man was a celebrity in his own right. They called him the King of Torts. Now, torts being a completely madcap word that basically means the man represented very bad people, and the Rolling Stones, who are, we don't know what you think of them. He wore velvet suits and he kept the human skeleton in his office.
Okay.
Why that's pertinent, I don't know. I'm just telling you what I researched. This is the guy the Zodiac decided to write to, and he was a living, breathing, real-life Saul Goodman.
I mean, I wonder if that's who the character was written after.
Could have been.
Anything's possible.
Yeah, those writers are a little older than us.
Well, on October 22nd, 1969, a man called into a live television show on KGO TV called AM San Francisco. He claimed to be the Zodiac. He called the Oakland Police Department first and demanded to speak to either attorney Melvin Belly or F. Lee Bailey on the air. The show scrambled. Belly agreed to appear. This is live television in 1969, so you've got to remember, there's no 7-second delay, no screening process. They just put this guy in the air.
Just raw, unfiltered, potentially a serial killer live on television. Now this, Kathryn, this is a golden age of broadcasting. Cigarettes, booze, a good old misogyny. Miss those days.
The caller, using the name Sam, said he was afraid he was going to kill again, that he was losing control. And he did sound distressed. He told Belly he couldn't reveal his real identity because he'd be executed. Belly, to his credit, stayed calm and tried to arrange a meeting. The caller agreed to meet at a specific location in Daly City, and he never showed.
And guess what? It wasn't the Zodiac.
Of course.
Police later identified the caller as Eric Weil, a patient at a freaking mental institution.
Checks.
Just a really disturbed person. Well, I guess like the Zodiac. And he saw a chance for attention. I'm just imagining him sneak on the phone, and make this call while he was like on his 5-minute break or something. But the whole country watched it happen. Millions of people saw this live on TV, this live negotiation with someone they believed was a Zodiac killer. And the Zodiac himself was probably watching too. Imagine seeing someone else get your attention. For a narcissist, that's probably huge. Now,
I am going to cut you if you keep saying it like that.
And then the next letter comes, and it's different. Really different. The tone shifts completely. He writes, "Dear Melvin, this is the Zodiac speaking. I wish you a happy Christmas. The one thing I ask of you is this. Please help me. I cannot reach out for help because of this thing in me. It won't let me. I'm finding it extremely difficult to hold it in check. I am afraid I will lose control again and take my 9th and possibly 10th victim."
And he includes another swatch of Paul Stein's bloody shirt. So he's simultaneously asking for help and proving he's a murderer. Please save me from myself. Also, here's a bloody shirt because things.
This has divided Zodiac researchers for decades. Is this letter actually genuine? Is the Zodiac actually reaching out for help? Or is this another huge performance?
Oh my gosh.
Because think about what's happening in the months leading up to this. The cipher has been cracked. The police have his not flattering composite sketch. Armed officers are riding in school buses. The heat is on, baby. And suddenly he's vulnerable. The shields are down like this is Independence Day and Randy Quaid is coming for your ass. Suddenly this guy needs help.
Well, some psychologists believe the letter reflects an actual real internal struggle, a person caught between the compulsion to kill and some remaining threat of conscience or self-preservation. Others think it's just pure manipulation. Now, the Zodiac saw Belly engage with the fake caller on television and thought, there's someone who'll play the game. He's casting Belly in a role. He's giving Belly the part of the man who almost saved the Zodiac. It's another production of Phantom of the Zodiac.
I am on the performance bandwagon. And here's why. Everything else the Zodiac does is calculated. The costumes, the symbols, the ciphers, the taunting, the school bus threat. None of this is off the cuff. None of this is an accident. And then all of a sudden, in one letter, he's some tortured soul begging for salvation. That's a character he's playing. That's something you do when you are trying to convince your ex you've changed. It's the villain's monologue while the hero is tied up where he reveals he's conflicted. It's a good plot twist. The days of our lives would be proud, Mr. Zodiac. He shifted gears because that other personality was growing tiresome and, dare I say, played out. He was getting stale.
Well, we'll never know for sure, but I will say this. After the belly letter, the Zodiac's tone shifts again. The vulnerability disappears, and then what comes next is just pure ego. 1970 is the year the Zodiac writes the most. The confirmed kill count has stopped. The last confirmed attack was Paul Stein in October 1969. But the letters are coming fast. He's evolving from a killer into full WWF personality without the HGH. I assume not. I don't know.
Now, if we're keeping in line, this is his content era. He's not murdering anymore. At least not that we can confirm, but he's producing content, baby. Letters, ciphers, greeting card like he's writing for Hallmark, more threats, and weirdly references to Gilbert and Sullivan operettas, which, I'm not really familiar with, and given my expertise in opera, they're obviously obscure. This man is busy keeping the engagement high, the algorithm satiated. No selfies, sadly, though.
Now, guys, on April 20th, 1970, the Chronicle receives a letter containing the Z13 cipher. Just 13 characters. And they're prefaced with 3 words that have generated possibly the most frustration for researchers for over 51 years. My name is, again, not Slim Shady.
Very hard for you.
So hard. Because we don't know what the rest is. If those 13 characters contain what the Zodiac says they contain, his real identity has been sitting in a puzzle since 1970 and nobody has definitively cracked it. The letter also includes a diagram of yet another bomb. This one supposedly designed to be triggered by light because he's apparently a quantum physicist as well.
He wore many hats.
He did.
So 13 characters. That's it. My name is chicka chicka chicka. And then 13 symbols.
Sorry.
Think about how proud of himself he must have been. He's saying, I'm telling you exactly who I am, and you're too stupid to read it. He's trying to flex whatever mama gave him. And the worst part is, he might be right. Because the cipher is so short, there's no way to guess the decryption key with any confidence. Multiple proposed solutions exist. Some spell out Lee Allen. Some spell out Larry Kane. None are confirmed.
Now, on June 26, 1970, the Z32 cipher arrives. 32 characters, accompanied by a map of the San Francisco Bay with a cross circle symbol drawn over Mount Diablo. The Zodiac instructs readers to use the map as a key. Now, again, nobody has definitively solved this one either, though a French engineer named Faisal Ziraoui claimed in 2024 to have decoded it using the Z340's encryption key.
You didn't take French in high school, did you?
Oh, hell no. I took 5 years of Spanish.
Sorry for you having to say that name.
Now, can I please tell you
Public
about Faisal?
schools.
Let me tell you about Faisal. His solution reveals geographic coordinates near a school in South Lake Tahoe, which, if real, would connect to the bus threat and to the disappearance of a nurse named Donna Last from that area.
These short ciphers are the Zodiac's attempt at mic drops. They're not long enough to crack mathematically. They require either the original key or an extremely lucky guess. He knows this, of course. He's given us just enough to obsess over and not enough to solve. That's not a mistake, of course. That's game design.
Exactly. Now, July 1970, the Zodiac sends 2 letters in quick succession. He's angry, and he demanded that people wear, and I quote, some nice Zodiac buttons bearing his cross circle symbol. And when nobody did, he claimed he punished the public by shooting a man sitting in a parked car.
So let's unpack this nut job. He wanted the people of the Bay Area to wear his merch. He wanted them to walk around with his logo pinned on his shirts like this is a political rally. And when they didn't, he claimed to have killed someone as punishment. That's not a whack job content creator threatening us with cancellation. No one is wearing the pins I didn't make and I didn't sell. So I committed another murder. It's an iffy marketing strategy. And at this point, somewhat sad, Mr. Zodiac.
Yeah. Now, he references the Mikado, which is a Gilbert and Sullivan opera, and parodies the song, At Someday It May Happen, I Have a Little List, rewriting the lyrics about his potential victims. He signs off with a new score. Zodiac equals 13, SFPD equals 0. Mic drop.
He's quoting Gilbert and Sullivan. The Mikado. This, if you don't know, is a Victorian-era comic opera. It's bizarre, and it's completely unexpected, but it shows us something. This is a guy who apparently knows obscure 19th century British operettas. That's not everybody's playlist. Or it's the only opera he may know, and he just wants to look sophisticated, like this is his first time wearing a suit to a restaurant.
So the Zodiac equals 13 score is of interest. His confirmed kill count is 5. Is he claiming 8 additional victims? Is he lying to inflate his legend? Or are there victims that we haven't found? We don't know. By 1974, in his final letter, he'll claim a score of 37. Now, most investigators believe the real number is between 5 and possibly 7 or 8, but the inflation of the count is part of the performance. The bigger the number, the bigger the myth, because everything he does has to be huge. That's how you say the word. It's what a narcissist would want.
Also, in 1970, we get another disturbing part to this whole Zodiac story, and it doesn't involve murder, thankfully. This one really, truly is creepy. In March of that year, a woman named Kathleen Johns was driving at night with her infant daughter in the middle of Nowhere Highway, Modesto, when a man in another car starts honking and flashing his lights. He pulled up beside her and gestured that her rear wheel was wobbling. She pulled over because this was 1970 and you still did things like hitchhike everywhere. He offered to fix it. He got out, went to her rear tire, and appeared to tighten the lug nuts.
Appeared to, because what he actually did was loosen them. She tries to drive away and the wheel just falls off. And now she's stranded on a dark highway with a baby, and the only person around is the man who just sabotaged her car. Now that is true horror movie stuff. He offers her a ride and she gets in. And then, instead of driving to a gas station or anywhere helpful, he just drives for 2 hours up and down rural roads, not saying much. And then he starts saying things like, I'm going to kill you, just casually, like he's mentioning the weather.
Yeah, 2 hours with a man calmly telling you he's going to kill you while you're holding your baby. Again, keep the children out of this plot, asshole.
Honestly. Now, at some point, the car slowed down or stopped, and Kathleen grabbed her baby, threw the door open, and ran. She hid in an irrigation ditch in the dark. Now, this man searched for her with a flashlight, but he couldn't find her, and eventually he left. A passing farmer found her and drove her to a police station in Patterson. And when she walked in and saw the Zodiac Wanted poster hanging on the wall, she said, "Oh my God, that's him." Her car was later found in flames on Highway 132.
A woman survives a serial killer by hiding in a muddy ditch in the dark while clutching her infant daughter. That's not a story. That's a survival instinct operating at a Rambo level most of us will never have access to.
That's a mother's
That's a mother.
That's the power of a mother, guys. And the power of thank God the baby didn't start crying.
Oh, geez, I didn't think of that.
Yeah, I did.
So months later, the Zodiac casually mentions it in a letter like it's another job reference. It barely registers to him.
Now, on October 27th, 1970, Chronicle reporter Paul Avery, who had been covering the Zodiac case extensively and had actually linked the Zodiac to an earlier 1966 murder of a college student named Sherry Jo Bates in Riverside, receives a Halloween card. It's signed, "From your secret pal." And inside, in the Zodiac's handwriting, "Peekaboo, you are doomed." There's a skeleton drawn on the front with the Zodiac's cross-circle eyes. This isn't a general threat to the public anymore. This is personal. He's targeting a specific journalist by name. He's basically saying, "I know who you are, I know where you work, and I'm thinking about you."
So Paul Avery starts carrying a gun.
Sure.
Naturally. His colleagues at the Chronicle start wearing buttons that say, "I'm not Paul Avery."
Wow.
Which honestly might be the most perfectly dark-humored response to a death threat I have ever heard.
Love it.
Their coworker is being targeted by a serial killer, and their move is matching novelty buttons so they can avoid getting shot. San Francisco in the 70s, everybody.
Yes. Now, Avery's life never fully recovered. He became a hard drinker, and his career eventually declined. He died in 2000 of pulmonary emphysema. Robert Downey Jr. played him in the Fincher film, which is probably the most appropriate casting in movie history for a brilliant, self-destructive journalist.
I should probably preface that with spoiler warning. The Zodiac
Whoops.
didn't just try to destroy the people he killed. He destroyed the people who chased him. Avery, Toschi, who we will cover in part 3. Graysmith, also featured in the David Fincher adaptation, whose obsession consumed his marriage and his sanity. Spoiler alert. This book is like a black hole. Everyone who gets close to this case gets pulled in and eventually starts carrying enough baggage to make your Tinder date blush.
We don't know how spoiler alerts work, do
Well,
we?
the movie's old, all right? So, I mean, if you've seen it, you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's good. It's pretty good.
What he said. Now, after the frenzy of 1970, the letters slow down dramatically. March 1971, the Zodiac sends a postcard to the Los Angeles Times. Not a Bay Area paper, so this is new. He writes, "I am crack proof." I can't help but giggle at that because I start thinking other things.
It's not the 80s yet. It's not what crack he was talking about.
Okay, so we'll just assume that you can't crack them. So the postcard also references the disappearance of Donna Lass, a nurse who vanished from South Lake Tahoe in September 1970, which we referred to earlier. Now, her body was never found. The Zodiac hints at involvement but provides nothing definitive. So another thread left dangling on purpose.
And then quiet for almost 3 years, like he's on a serial killer sabbatical.
I mean, I don't know what else it could be.
I don't know what book he wrote, his biography.
He might.
Yeah.
Now, the Chronicle receives one more confirmed letter, which is postmarked January 29th, 1974. It's the last authenticated Zodiac communication, and it's strange because the tone has shifted again. He praises the movie The Exorcist, calling it, quote, "the best satirical comedy that I have ever seen." And he includes a verse from Titwillow, another song from the Mikado, and he updates his score. Me equals 37, SFPD equals 0. And he sounds like that, by the way.
37, up from 13, up from the 5 that are confirmed. Where are these other victims? Are they even real? Are they imaginary? Is he counting people he passed on the street and decided retroactively to claim? The number inflation is, at this point, almost certainly fantasy. He's writing fan fiction about his own life like he's Stephanie Meyer.
And then silence. Total silence. The Zodiac simply stops writing, or at least he stops sending letters that can be authenticated. A few suspected letters trickle in over the years, one in 1978 that most experts believe was a forgery, possibly by someone connected to the investigation, but nothing confirmed.
So what happened? Why did he stop? This is one of the great unanswered questions. There are basically 4 theories. Ready? 1. This is probably the one that would win the poll of most wanted outcomes. He died. Hopefully not too prettily.
Agreed.
2. He was arrested for something else and spent the rest of his life in prison. 3. Simply lost interest. The media attention had died down by then. The thrill was gone. The game wasn't fun anymore. If nobody's playing, have you ever tried playing Monopoly by yourself? And 4, he just got scared. The investigation was getting closer. The composite sketch was everywhere. And he just decided the risk outweighed the reward.
I vote theory 1, probably like most of the world who knows about him, but what's your vote, by the way?
I'm gonna vote he lost interest.
I just don't believe that.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Well,
If he's narcissistic, there's no way. But you know what?
3 and 4.
Well, let me tell you.
7.
Okay, Monica. So there actually is a psychological theory. One psychiatrist suggests the Zodiac may have had a dissociative condition that lessened over time. And as the compulsion faded, so did the letters. Whatever the reason, after January 1974, the most prolific letter-writing serial killer in American history simply put down his pen.
And when the letters stop, the mystery doesn't shrink, obviously. It just grows. Because now we don't even know if he's alive or dead. We don't know if he stopped killing or he just stopped telling us about it. The silence is its own kind of darkness. It's the horror movie where the music cuts out and you're just sitting in the dark, waiting for something to happen. So I want to zoom out and look at the letters as a whole, because when you lay them all out chronologically, they do tell a story. And maybe not the story the Zodiac intended, maybe, but they do tell a story nonetheless. Phase 1, 1969, triumphant, boastful. He just killed people and he wants the world to know. The letters are confident, they're detailed, they're demanding. He's giving orders to newspapers. He's designing ciphers. He's in total control. this is where he peaks. This is where he's most powerful.
Phase 2, late 1969, the belly letter. Whether it's genuine or performed, there's a crack in the armor and something shifts. Maybe it's the pressure of the investigation, or maybe the Paul Stein near miss shook him more than he'd care to admit. But either way, the untouchable killer is suddenly asking for help.
Phase 3, 1970. The ego pops back up. Buttons, scores, threats, operetta shoutouts. But now it's loud. It's more theatrical. And that violence, well, that stopped. He's performing harder, but he's doing less. It's like the Rolling Stones on their farewell tour. The show gets bigger as the music gets worse.
Wow, that's messed up.
I mean, it's still spry. It's just very sinewy.
All right, well, 1971 to 1974, which is the long fade. Sparse letters, bigger claims, less evidence. By the time he writes his last letter, he's claiming 37 victims and reviewing movies. He's become a parody of himself, and the Zodiac by 1974 reads like a guy who peaked in high school and keeps showing up to the reunion to tell everyone about it, of course, because Facebook didn't exist. So you got to do that. And then he's gone. Just poof. And nobody knows why. Nobody knows how the story ends. We don't even know if the story has ended or if we're still in it, which quite frankly, I have thought about while recording this. I sure hope it's ended because he went after somebody reporting on him. And I know we're nobodies, but that kind of seems like his MO and I'm a little frightened.
I mean, he could be in his 70s. So
I hope he's not a spry 70-year-old.
Just sinewy.
Yeah.
So this is a thread we've been pulling on since part 1. The performance of murder. The Zodiac letters are the legacy. They're not the kills. The letters are why we're talking about this in 2026. Still feels like a fake number to me.
Yeah, it is. It is fake, by the way. It's fake. It's totally fake. It's the 80s.
It's been 2025 many times this year for me. The letters are why there are forums and conspiracy Reddit threads and podcasts and David Fincher movie. The 5 people he killed are tragically one set of victims among thousands of unsolved murders from that era. What made the Zodiac immortal was the writing. He made himself the main character by controlling the narrative and flashing a metaphorical Instagram camera on himself. And the letters prove that the story he was telling, the story of an unstoppable, unknowable monster, was always more important to him than just the killing. That's what makes him different. That's what makes this case different. And it's why 57 years later, we're still reading his mail like a nosy neighbor.
So, over 20 letters, 4 ciphers, one of them cracked in 24 hours, and one that took 51 years, and 2 that remain unsolved to this day. The Zodiac built a puzzle box that the entire world has been trying to open for over half a century.
And we're going to talk about what's coming next. Part 3 is called The Code Breakers. We're going to go deep on the Z340 cipher. This is the one that sat unsolved for 51 years until 3 random civilians from 3 different countries cracked it during the COVID lockdown. If you remember, a lot of people had a lot of free time.
Yep.
How they did it was genuinely one of the most fascinating stories in modern cryptography. And, there might not be many. We're also going to cover the investigation itself, specifically Detective David Toschi. And this is the most famous cop you've probably never heard of. This was the man who inspired both Bullet and Dirty Harry. He could fill 8 filing cabinets with Zodiac suspects, and he got pulled from the case for the dumbest, most self-destructive reason imaginable. And then there's Robert Graysmith, the newspaper cartoonist who became so obsessed with the case that he wrote the book that became the David Fincher movie. And he's also played by Jake Gyllenhaal. And you're a Swiftie, so you probably have an opinion on that.
I was going to say, and as a Swiftie, boo. Do I say boo you whore like the Mean Girls, or do I just stick with boo?
Boo you whore?
Yeah, boo you whore.
He's a man. You call him whore?
Anyway, part 3 is the investigation.
He's a stud.
The heroes, the failures, and the broken puzzle that broke them all. And we'll see you there. But before you go, what I need you to do is follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Mugshot Mysteries Podcast. And more importantly, if you enjoyed this show, follow us, leave us a rating and a review if you'd like. It takes 30 seconds and it genuinely helps us grow. But as always, before we go, Gabriel, what did we learn today?
We've learned that the most dangerous code-breaking tool in America, as it mostly is a wife, specifically a school teacher's wife. who has really good instincts and probably makes a good mean cup of coffee. We've learned that threatening to blow up a school bus is surprisingly effective terrorism, even when you have no bomb. Keep the kids out of it, asshole. We've learned that the Zodiac had a thing for opera, so Chalamet would certainly not see eye to eye with him. We've learned that content creators are mostly serial killers underneath. Kathryn.
Excuse you.
And finally, we've learned that when a serial killer stops talking, the silence is sometimes scarier than they could ever be.
Sneaky footsteps in the night, clues that vanish out of sight. Grab your hat and magnifying glass. We'll talk this case and have a blast. Mugshot Mysteries, we're on the trail. Twists and turns that never fail. Laughs and chills, it's quite the show. Who did it? Tune in to know. Gem, a secret note, a shady figure in a trench coat. The clock is ticking, the plot gets thick. We'll crack this puzzle quick as a click. Mugshot Mysteries, we're on the trail. Twists and turns that never fail. Laughs and chills, it's quite the show. Who did it? Tune in to know. Breadcrumbs through the haze. Every clue's a piece in this crazy